hearing for fiscal year 2014-2015. It's Thursday, September 11th, 2014. Roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Coviello?
Here.
Vice Mayor Ross?
Here.
Commissioner Jonas?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Watts?
Here.
And Commissioner Anderson.
Here. All right, if everyone would stand, and we're actually going to, on this anniversary of September 11th, we're going to have a moment of silence to remember the lives lost on that day, and then we'll lead into the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting. We're going to open the public comment period. If you'd state your name and address for the record.
Dan Samaria, 1030 Northeast 121st Street. I know that the village and commissioners have put out a blast. I just wanted to remind people that the rec board is putting on a memorial for the 9/11 victims. Going to be held Saturday between 7 and 8 at the rec center. So if anybody can, people can attend, that'd be good. And if you can get people to visit the 9/11 thing out there, and if anybody has stuff that they want to donate, that they might have home that's from 9/11. Because what's going to be happening is, God forbid, when I die, I'm going to be donating that to a museum. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Any other public comment? No? Seeing none? All right, we'll close the public comment period. And we will move on to resolutions. Resolution 2014-64. Madam Manager, or Mr. Attorney, if you want to read it, and Madam Manager, if you could introduce the item.
Thank you. It's a resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, authorizing the village manager to execute the agreement between blank and the Village of Biscayne Park for lobbying services for the village's boundary change application, providing for an effective date.
Mayor and Commissioners, if you'll recall, when we met on Tuesday, we received two presentations by Balsera Communications and Becker and Polikoff regarding representing the village in our pursuit of annexation. We are looking for a firm to assist us with the collection of the required signatures, as well as ongoing outreach efforts at County Hall. At your meeting, you asked both firms to come back with their best and final proposal, and each firm was asked by me the next morning to submit a timeline, a maximum fee, and the minimum fee required. To summarize the proposals that we received, or the responses we received, Balsera Communications stated their monthly fee would be $5,000 per month for 11 months and $4,000 for 1 month. Becker and Polikoff stated it would be $3,500 per month. The minimum fee was $10,500. Becker and Polikoff from Balsera. Becker and Polikoff said they had no minimum fee. The maximum fee from Balsera Communications was $54,000, whereas Becker and Polikoff said $52,500, which would be revisited after 18 months. We've invited both firms here tonight.
Okay, thank you, Madam Manager. We'd like to open it up to the Commission for discussion. Who wants to go first?
I wonder if we could talk to representatives of each firm in the absence of representatives of the other firm.
Mr. City Attorney?
Well, legally you can. I mean, they knew they were, I don't know what time they were noticed for it, but I don't know if they called or not, but this is a noticed meeting.
So I'm sorry, you can
legally speak to who's here. It was a noticed meeting. I'm just thinking, I don't know.
No, but I think Commissioner Jonas's question was, if, assuming Balsera shows up, I'm sure they're in traffic, and when they show up, can we ask one to leave the room and have the other one answer the question?
Under Sunshine Law, the Attorney General's opinion on that is that you cannot ask anyone to leave the room. If people leave the room, that's fine, but you can't ask them to.
Okay.
Because Sunshine Law, it's open to anyone, open fully, and the Attorney General has opined on that.
Okay, well, since I don't believe Balsera is present yet, the representative, so if you want,
All right,
you can
well-
ask the questions.
Yeah.
Senator Polycom.
So, Mr. Cuzzo, are you going to speak? What I wanted to know is, I mean, you understand you're competing.
Yes.
So I wanted to know, why is your firm better than Balsera?
Okay. Well, I'm going to forego giving the entire presentation that
Right.
we did last time. But I'll tell you, I mean, in terms of experience, there's no one in this county that has more experience than our team. Actually, I should introduce the team. Tonight I have everyone, well, most of the team. We still have some other folks that'll be on the team, but Jose Bermudez that you met the last time, Irela Bagay, who's here, and then also Jose Fuentes. Jose Fuentes, as I mentioned, I think there's 9 petitions that are out right now. I represent Florida City that has 2 of them in right now. Jose Fuentes actually represented Sweetwater, which was the last successful annexation in this county. And he's also represented 4 other municipalities for annexation. We're in discussions with 2 other municipalities who are doing annexation. I mean, I like to focus on what we do, but as you heard from the presentation on Tuesday night, our competitors have never done an annexation. So in terms of experience, we are the team with the experience to do annexations. We have the relationships at the county level, and we also have the relationships with municipalities that border your city who are going to have a say in what we do here. So in terms of experience, I firmly believe that we are the best team to help the city, or the village, sorry.
You've overseen completed annexations?
Actually, if I can bring Jose up,
Sure.
he can talk to you about Sweetwater and what they did in Sweetwater, but he has completed an annexation.
Okay, the podium is too tall for me, short guy here, by the way. Jose Fuentes with Becker Polikoff, 121 Alhambra Plaza. My experience is dealing with municipalities. I represent Virginia Gardens, Miami Springs, Pinecrest, Homestead, and I also represent at times the city of Miami at the state legislative level as well as at County Hall. As it was mentioned by my colleague, there have been a few applications that have been submitted on annexation, and the one application that's been successful is a Sweetwater application, which incorporated, through negotiations with the abutting city Doral, an annexation area into the new city, the now new additions, which include Dolphin Mall. So we do have experience. In addition to that, we are working presently with a number of cities with their annexation applications, and as Jeff mentioned also, there are a few other cities that we are in current negotiations. I think one of the things you asked was what distinguishes us, or what makes us better?
Yeah.
You know, and I'll try to be brief. But first of all, Becker Polikoff is a firm that's been around for 42 years. It started here in Dade County by 2 gentlemen who were involved one involved in the legislature, the other one an attorney involved more in legal issues. And they're one of the leaders, obviously, in condo. But governmental law, it's what we do. It's what we do best. We represent, as it was mentioned, Opelika to the west of you. We also, through Jeff, represent a number of interests in North Miami. He also serves as general counsel in Florida City. So I think what you're getting is a team that has experience in government. We don't promote brands. We don't, sell tires. We're a governmental firm. That's what we do. It's kind of like if you're a lawyer and you know land use is your expertise, that's what you sell, that's what you market. And that's what we do. We do governmental affairs solely. We have a federal office in Washington, D.C. that also works at that level, bringing dollars down to communities with regards to their needs, not unlike what we do in the legislature. Actually, we've worked closely with your colleague. I worked in a previous role as the South Florida Water Management District Director. I worked with Bob Anderson in that role, and I always was afraid of when it rained, so this was my previous role. In this role, it's strictly on governmental, and annexation is key, and our relationships with the County Commission are critical to this application. I just want to add one more thing. I think it was mentioned that the outreach component, Irela Bagay has a wealth of experience in outreach. She's represented the Department of Transportation, Miami-Dade Expressway Authority, when it deals with outreach issues, when it comes to roads that impact citizens. So just wanted to add that.
Some people will complain, or have complained, that part of this effort is not in-house for you. you're subcontracting out to it?
Well, if you looked at it, the most critical component is convincing the county commission to go forth with your application. I've already met with several staff members of the county with regards to your application. There are a number of concerns which we, if selected, we would have to work with the county and try to resolve before your application goes forth. I'm not going to mention those because those are meetings that we will have in the future with regards to the application. But we think we can help you resolve some of those issues. As it was mentioned by Mr. Cazzo, the relationship with the county commission is critical to your application. You have to get past step one. This is learning to crawl, walk, and then run. You can't just run. And the outreach component, which is also a critical, because you need to get those votes from that community that's being annexed and get their support, is important, but it's important in the other phase of your application. That's something that Ms. Biscayne Magby would be doing. But I can guarantee you, at least in this part, that you're going to get the best representation when it comes to dealing with county commissioners, dealing with staff. I've done this. This is not, for me, I could probably put a blindfold and do it. I'm not trying to learn. I'm not going to use you as a test case. This is what we do.
I mean, some people think that this collaboration between you and the outreach people is not seamless.
I think it is seamless. I think you're getting the best of both worlds. I think you're getting a great outreach firm, and you're getting a great firm that deals with government. In most cases, you're not going to find, in the other applicant, their governmental unit won't be able to advocate on behalf of the municipality because of conflict issues. We don't have that conflict. We've done our conflict checks like any good law firm. We're fine. We can represent you before the county commission.
Can you just expand on what you just said?
Yeah.
The conflict issue?
I think that, one of the things that we do as a law firm, and I know I have several members on the commission that are involved in the legal world, we've done our conflict checks. We have no conflicts. There is no issues with Becker Polikoff representing the village. So we're clear of that. That means that we don't have someone that may affect your ability to get your application or representing two people for the same cause. These are different in causes, but the area that we're looking at, we don't have an applicant that could affect your application. We have relationships that could help but not hinder, and that's critical. But getting back to seamless, I mean, there's very few law firms that have, PR in their firm to do for their clients. They do public relations or marketing for the lawyers. And I think, again, you have to think of it as two components. This is outreach, and this is the governmental. You have to go to the Board of County Commissioners. You have to go to the Board of County Commissioners. So you have to have an expert that deals with the members of the commission, okay? Then you have the outreach component. The outreach component is not an advertising campaign by any means, by any means. We need to do what you did when you got elected. This is door to door. This is to meet the individuals face to face, ask them and explain to them what this is about, what the annexation is about, and then knock on their doors again, and then knock on their doors again, and then when the ballot process, whatever ballot process you decide to choose in order to annex this area, make sure that those individuals go out and vote so that you get that support for the application from the community. So, we know what the count is, we have that information. This is something that we've done in the past. Irella's actually run for office, so she understands the importance of knocking on doors to convince voters to show up to the polls or to support your cause, and that's what our role is.
Let me ask you a question. I think one of our hurdles is that annexation is obviously a controversial issue at the county, and a lot of applications are stalled, and a lot of people are against annexation. My concern is that you're very entrenched in the annexation issue, and you represent multiple municipalities. We've always, or I think our goal is to distinguish ourselves from those other applications, because I think we have a compelling case for annexation. This is, for us, it's not just a land grab, it's to survive, and we actually do need the money to survive. So if we're trying to move in that direction and distinguish ourselves from the other municipalities, my concern is getting grouped in with the other municipalities that you represent. In your negotiations with the county, there's going to be give and take. So can you respond to that?
Absolutely. We have different commissioners representing each area. So this is going to be critical in the application process. Your millage is currently at 9.70. You're about to hit the 10% cap, which is a little bit problematic. So you have a good case, absolutely, without a doubt. But when you think about it, these applications that are in the hopper, the other applications, need support from commissioners in your district. So what our goal is to make sure that we have the support of the commission across the board on all the applications. We will focus, obviously, on your application, and like I've indicated, I've done my research already on your application. I understand it. It's not going to be easy, but as I believe, if we feel that this application has no chance or no merit, I don't want you to spend your money. I know what your reserve is in your budget, and I know that this is a small city, and I know that your citizens are going to be concerned about the money you spend. Believe me, it's about our reputation at Becker-Polikoff. 42 years doesn't come by accident. It's because we do represent our municipalities correctly. So what we'll do is, we'll make an analysis, we'll meet with staff, and find out if the current application, and use the word land grab. That is a word that's being thrown around. So we have to prove our case, not only to the staff, but to the commission. And I'll tell you, I think that with the team you have, Jeff has a great relationship. As you know, he just came off the campaign for Commissioner Montestein as his treasurer. And I have a great relationship with a number of the members on the commission involved in this process. So you're getting a team that's going to represent your best interests. Yeah, we have other clients, absolutely, but when you look at a client in the Northwest Corridor, they have no effect on your application at all, at all. And in fact, if that commissioner is going to do one thing, it's he or she is going to make sure that he or she gets support from the other commissioner and vice versa.
In what way is
With
our...
respect-
Sorry, go ahead.
With respect to the fee, the maximum fee, and I think it's evident that, again, it goes back to the issue that annexation is controversial, and if history is any indication, it's going to take a very long time, or a significant time to achieve this. And so, you know, Balsera has a maximum fee of $54,000, and your fee is roughly the same, $52,500, but there is a caveat that it says the fee is going to be revisited after 18 months. Is there a concern, in other words, why was that inserted? Because I have a concern that this is going to take longer, and then and although your monthly fee is less, we're going to end up paying more.
I don't think so. In fact, one of the conversations I had with my colleagues was the ability, I think that you should, and again, this is your discretion to negotiate with the manager what the fee structure would be and come back to you with what we would propose if it's different to meet your financial needs. We understand, and we want to be clear about this. This process may take more than a year. It's for me to be here standing, for anyone actually, to be standing here and say, we're going to get it done in a year, is disingenuous.
But I guess that's my concern. It likely will take more than a year, and to say, so essentially your $52,500 is not really a cap, because it's...
Well, it may be the cap.
revisited.
I think that one of the things we'd like to do is work with the city manager, and you set, if you think that 52 is the cap, we'll work out what the terms are going to be of that agreement, and I don't have a problem with that. It's going to take a lot of time to get this application through. There is a set-aside portion for the outreach, and there's going to be a portion set for the work that the team is going to do. George Burgess, for example, who's our CEO and will be involved in this application as a former county manager, I think can be very helpful. So it's going to be based on resources. What are the best use of resources? If I know that you're telling me, hey, Jose, you got $52,000 to work with to get our application, we've got to work within those means, and we'll figure that out. We are not going to let the village of Biscayne Park hanging out there. I don't think we've ever done that, and I don't think we're going to start today.
This issue came up on Tuesday, so let me try to explain what we did here. Again, if you read what we wrote, we said the cap is 52.5 for the scope of the work that we've all talked about. We know what the scope is. You've identified the area that we're trying to annex. The only reason we're coming back in 18 months is, again, the final decision isn't in our hands. So if we come back, for example, and the county commission or the PAB board says, hey, by the way, we will approve this, however, we want you to also annex these areas. Well, if we say our cap is 52.5, and now we've got to go to 1,000 more homes, I mean, that just doesn't make economical sense. And all we're saying is that if something like that comes up, we want to have the ability to talk to you all about it before we sign up for something like that without knowing what's happening in the future. And that's all that is. But our cap is 52.5 for the scope of work that you've identified.
Has the county ever, has the county ever come back and essentially amended the application for annexation, like, well through the process? I mean, anything can happen, obviously, but,
Okay.
Can you explain amend, just?
I'm sorry?
Asking them to do more and
Yeah,
they have the power, yeah.
I'll tell, for example, in the Sweetwater application, the Sweetwater application was negotiated at the last minute. There was a change. The commission broke. We met with the chairperson at that time. The big issue there was, what do you think, millage. The area that was going to be incorporated into the city of Sweetwater would then absorb that same millage rate. So what was added as a caveat in that negotiation specifically was that we would flatten the rate. That means that we would go just a tad bit above the UMSA rate, but not at the high point with the Sweetwater rate. And that millage stayed in place for about a year. That's what we negotiated with the county commission. It passed, and now Dolphin Mall is part of Sweetwater.
Is the Sweetwater is not the annexation that took 6 years, was it?
No, it actually was. There was several versions on Sweetwater. Sweetwater came in one time and didn't do so well. Then we changed the strategy, and actually what they did was interesting. Instead of going through the election process of having the voters go to the polls, okay, in that area, what they did was it was a mail-in ballot. So we were advised by the Department of Elections when that mail-out ballot would be seen in the homes, when it would leave. We weren't involved in the crafting of the language. The language is pretty much crafted by staff. It was sent to the homeowners, the voters in that area, the annexation area, and we met with those homeowners, knocked on their doors, had meetings, had coffees, it's a campaign. It's a regular campaign. There was no TV advertisement. There was no radio. There was nothing of that sort. It was very focused, very targeted. And that's what we would do in this case. In the village, we would be targeted.
Yeah, look, I mean, you guys are extremely well qualified, there's no doubt. I have an issue with the maximum fee because this is clearly going to take a long time. And so $52,000 could easily turn into $100,000. And that's my fee, and that's my concern. And Balsera's proposal is a flat $54,000 from beginning to end, and they'll finish the process. That's my concern.
Yeah, I think in the letter that you received, the rate you get is it's 52.5 for flat fee.
I mean, what you're suggesting, Mayor, is that we're signing up. I mean, you understand. All we're saying is if something that none of us here tonight comes up and changes, that we have the ability to come back to you and talk about it. But everything you're talking about, we're saying we will do for less than what our competitors are going to do. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, I guess then, rather than say to be revisited after 18 months is kind of broad, maybe you can, if the county comes back and the geographic area of the annexation changes, then the fee will be revisited. But in other words, I want to compare apples to apples, and right now we have a true fee cap with Balsera, and I don't feel like we have that.
Well, I mean, within the scope that you currently have, if you're saying that the scope that's there, we can adhere to the language. We can simplify this process and say that the cap is 52.5 for to get this application process and move forward. I mean, and we could work that. I don't think it's I think one of the things we'd like to do, because I don't want to get into the weeds of negotiations, it's kind of difficult to do that here, but we would like to negotiate with the manager, and the manager present what the agreement is. I mean, and that's at your discretion, obviously, but I think this form is a little bit difficult to.
No, I agree.
You said that our application is not easy. What's not easy?
Yeah.
Honestly, if we were to get this work, the last thing I want to do is put on the record what our deficiencies are. So I respectfully ask not to answer that question tonight. We can talk to you, if we're hired, and we'll explain to you what's going on. But I really would not put that on the record. That just makes our job a lot harder to put every deficiency or every deficiency. Well, any. It's not helpful for us to put out what someone else would say is deficient about our application. And I would rather not put that on the record, at least not at this stage. Yes.
Mr. City Attorney, you wanted to say something?
Ken, I think in terms came from the fact that we revisited after 18 months. You had this point of 18 months to revisit it. As you said, the scope is clear, and I think this commission is more than willing. If 4 months later, there's a requirement that we have to go and annex a whole nother area, that's different than the scope, and we'll be happy to negotiate with you. Okay. But if you're in agreement that that's a hard cap for the scope of work as described.
That's the hard cap.
Yeah, and so number two, and I'm speaking with the manager, because of the timeliness of this, I don't think there's really any negotiations that we're going to need to do other than we're going to have the scope and have a typical contract. So it'll be very limited. Right. And we just don't want this cap to be negotiated. So it'll be 52.5.
The cap will not be negotiated. Again, 18 months was just a number. I mean, as I said on Tuesday, we hope to get this done in less than a year. I mean, the thing we want to do is go in, get annexation for the village, and be done with this. I mean, so we just said, you know, in the worst case scenario, if it goes out to 18 months, what could possibly happen in 18 months? And so we use 18 months, but not 18 months to renegotiate the cap, but 18 months to just see where we are. I mean, it's not like we're not going to be speaking all the time anyway.
And so the
as long as everyone understands that the cap 52.5 is for this scope of work, and if there's a significant change to the scope of work, then we all get to talk again, then yeah, we're fine with that.
And so the commission has a comfort level. If the scope doesn't change and it's more than 18 months, you're not looking
We're
for
not,
any more?
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Ross?
My math may be wrong, but, oh, sorry, is it that? If it's $3,500 a month, and we do this for 18 months, that would come to $63,000.
And we're saying we're capping it to 52.5.
The language of revisiting after 18 months is not tied to the period
tied.
necessary that they think it's in the future.
Mayor?
Yes.
One more question. I noticed there is a clause in your proposal that says that legal fees
Legal fees, which again, we're trying to cover everything that could possibly happen. I mean, there are things that may happen in the realm of possibility that could be legal fees. For example, if the cities of Miami-Dade County decide we're going to sue the county because the county's not allowing annexation, we're just saying as a law firm, because we're a law firm, we don't want to be tied to now representing the city in a prolonged lawsuit over annexation. That's all that's saying. Our job is limited to lobbying on your behalf and getting you signatures. It's not to represent you all in any legal battles. We will, I mean, there's going to be some incidental legal work that comes from annexation. I'll have to research this or that. As long as it's part of annexation, I mean, that's covered under the fee. All we're saying is additional legal work, such as filing a lawsuit, something like that, then that would be extra.
Okay.
Which, you know, your city attorney,
finally,
or village attorney would probably do anyway.
In what capacity or on what issues do you serve the city of North Miami? You said that a couple of things.
No, I don't serve the city of North Miami.
Someone does.
No. We said we have relationships in the city of North Miami. I've worked extensively for clients in North Miami. I've worked for North Miami. I was actually one of the attorneys that worked on their, not the last charter review, but the charter review before the last charter review. So all we're saying is I've got significant ties in North Miami and the other cities, North Miami Beach, Miami Gardens. That's all we're saying. I don't currently represent the city of North Miami. No one in the firm does. I mean, we did the conflict check, so.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yeah, I'm looking at your proposal, you know, your updated proposal, and just what the mayor has been saying. And to me, it's pretty clear in here that you're going to be capping your fee at $52,000. However, should the scope of work change from what was included in the RFP, we would obviously need to revisit our agreement. And I think we're all in agreement on that. I think the problem is after that. And if for some reason beyond our control, this process takes longer than 18 months, we would need to revisit the agreement. I'd like to see that piece removed. Has nothing to do with...
We can, I mean, I think we've just agreed to taking that out.
Right. I just want to make sure.
And your final agreement, the final agreement will say that. I mean, it's
right.
We will negotiate with your manager and your village attorney, and if it's not to your satisfaction, obviously you can go to the next bidder if we're the selected. But we're committing tonight to agreeing to some kind of contract that you all will
Right.
will find a meeting.
And so my understanding is we have a cap. If the scope of work changes, then we have to, we'll discuss that with staff, et cetera. But if the scope doesn't change, there's no time limit with that cap.
Right, right.
All right, any other questions? Commissioner Vice Mayor Ross?
I don't have any questions. We talked quite extensively about it last night, and I am convinced for my part that this is the right time to carry our application through the county's process. And I'm happy to make a motion if you want to entertain that now.
Yeah, sure, let me just make sure, is there any other comments?
Well, don't we want to hear from Balsera if they show up, or no?
Well, unfortunately, they are not here. I don't know, Madam Manager, did they indicate that they were coming? Or?
Yes.
If there's-
Maybe they thought it started at 7. I just sent a message at 6:30.
You sent the message to them?
And I have not heard back.
Okay. Okay.
Ralph, don't you
We're
think we
always
should
on
wait?
time, by the way.
No response? Okay. Do you have further questions? Or? Yeah.
They did respond to the request.
Yeah, if you can indicate what they amended their proposal. I think, did you already do that?
Yes, they adjusted their minimum to 10,500. And the maximum fee remained at 54,000 with the 5,000 per month at 11 months and 4,000 for the last month.
Okay. And the public relations firm, and I apologize, are you the, okay, that's you.
You want to hear from me?
Would you mind?
that'd be good.
That would be wonderful.
That would be great.
I will stand over here. Hold you within 9 feet.
No problem.
From my height.
If you like, you could take that off.
Yeah. So again, my name's Irela Bagay, and I'm here representing Magni Consulting Services. We're a public outreach firm. We have a combined experience in our firm of over 35 years serving Miami-Dade County. We've worked in pretty much every community, and just wanted to address the seamless way in which we would work. We've worked on many road projects, construction projects across the county, and this is no different than being hired by a construction firm that does construction and does construction very well, but they need public outreach, and that's where we come in. We've done this extensively. Jose mentioned that I've run for office, so I've done door-to-door. I've been doing door-to-door campaigning since I was 15 years old, so frankly, I know how to talk to people. This is something that I've enjoyed, and I decided to turn this into a career path. As far as public service, I served on the Water Management Governing Board. I worked with Biscayne Park and a lot of the flood mitigation work that Jose helped this village out with back years ago. And so Jose and I have worked together for many, many years for many, many projects, and I myself have a great relationship with a lot of the county commissioners as well, having served in committees and whatnot with the county commission. So we feel very confident about this project. The only thing I can say is that, as Jose mentioned, it's a very strategic way to talk to the public. It's very targeted, and it's very personalized. So a lot of, sitting in living rooms and really having, an informative conversation with the voters and the citizens. And I'm not going to give away everything else because we're going to have a lot of work to do, but just to make you all feel comfortable that we're here, we work together, we're a team, and we're a team that was put together specifically to, we were actually brought in because of the experience that we have. Again, it's not an advertising campaign by no means. We're not promoting anything except the ability to move your village forward.
Thank you. And you work specifically on annexation applications? Or?
No, I have not worked
Okay.
specifically on annexation, but I can tell you that the way that the vision that we see for the actual outreach is no different than, door-to-door type of campaign, and, just communicating information and gaining trust.
Okay, thank
And
you.
you all know how to do that because you've all run for office.
Thank you.
And
You didn't.
no, I didn't, but I did win.
Congratulations.
I didn't win my first election, but I was appointed by a governor, so that kind of won.
All right, any other comments before we entertain a motion? Questions, comments, nothing? All right.
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2014-64, engaging the services of Becker Polyakoff, and that the manager finalize a retainer with them.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Ross.
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Anderson. Can we do a roll call?
You can always if you
I
want.
prefer, yeah. What's the problem?
I really would like to hear from Sarah as well. They're not going to come.
Do you want to recess for a minute and I'll try to call, or do you have a motion
Okay,
on the
yeah, why
table?
don't we'll recess, I apologize if we recess for 5 minutes,
We have a motion on the floor.
You got a motion and a second.
but we can't recess and revisit that when it comes.
You ultimately are the author of the parliamentary procedure, but traditionally you would either vote on this motion, table.
I mean, we're not going to, let's take a 5-minute break, we're not going to be acting on anything else before we revisit.
There's no
the-
answer. It goes straight to voicemail and that's text.
Okay. All right, well, motion, second by Commissioner Anderson. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Watts?
No, because I would like to wait for Balsara.
Vice Mayor Ross?
Yes.
Commissioner Jonas?
Yes, I think it's a little unfair that they're not here, but they're not here.
And Mayor Coviello?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion carries 3-2? 4-1.
4-1.
All right, congratulations, thank you very much. We look forward to working with you. Yeah, we're going to take a 5-minute recess.
No, I wanted
Let's get started.
Let's get started. Get ready to rumble.
I'm so naive. I'm so naive.
All right, ordinance 2014-09, we have first reading.
This is an ordinance of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, establishing the 2014-2015 millage rate at 9.70 mils for each thousand of assessed valuation upon real and personal property within the village limits of the Village of Biscayne Park, providing for an effective date. And so the proposed millage rate is 9.70, which is 9.66% greater than the rollback rate of 8.8456 mils. And this will be heard second reading at September 23rd, 6:30 p.m. here at the Edberg Center. So Mayor, if you could open it to the public, and for the public's benefit, this is not the actual budget itself. This is actually, should be directed towards the millage rate of 9.70.
Okay, all right, with that said, we'll open it up to the public. If you have any comments, please state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment period.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jonas, second by Vice Mayor Ross.
Roll call, Mayor?
Yes, please.
Commissioner Jonas?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ross?
Yes.
Commissioner Watts? Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
And Mayor Coviello?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, item 6B, ordinance 2014-09.
An ordinance of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, adopting a budget for fiscal year 2014-2015 for the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, providing for conflicts, providing severability, providing for an effective date. And this is first reading to to approve a budget. The final budget hearing is September 23rd, 6:30 p.m. here at the Edberg Center.
All right, we'll open it up to public comment. State your name and address for the record.
Barbara Kuehl, 111th Street. I'd like to comment on the bathroom issue and how it relates to the budget. I'm not really sure what the total budget for the bathroom was. I know the contract with the contractor, I think, was $5,200, and the partitions were not included in that, as far as I know. And when I was talking to the manager, she had mentioned that maybe in the future they would be doing that. I think it's important that that's done now, when the bathroom is being renovated. Anybody who's ever done any work in their house, once the work is done and then you want to add something or change something, when you take that piece off, the holes are never in the right space. It leaves a mark on the tile. I think this is something that's not that expensive that should be included. And I didn't see it in the budget. It might be, in the manager's comments, she said there were other additions to the rec center. Maybe that was part of it. The other thing is, the manager had said that the contractor said they were going to be reusing he was pretty sure he was going to be reusing the tile. And again, anybody who's ever done any kind of work taking up tile, it doesn't happen. You don't hear people reusing tile. On certain jobs, when somebody needs to replace a few tiles carefully, they can cut even and try to remove the tile to replace them at a later time. And even then, they'll tell you it's a very iffy proposition, and it's very time-consuming. You've got to get the mortar off. You have to use muriatic acid. It's very involved. I can't imagine the contractor removing every piece of tile, cleaning it up, and putting it back. It would be cheaper to buy new tile. And I worry, as far as the new budget, not including anything for the bathroom, what do we know do we know it's really going to happen? I mean, the contractor actually could just say, you know what, this is going to cost me twice as much. I'm not only not going to make a profit, but there's now an expense to me. The fixtures need to be redone. Everything in that bathroom really has to be redone. And what happens, is there a contingency if the contractor says, you know what, I'm sorry, I don't even want the $5,200, I'm leaving? What do we do? What do we do if we have to buy new tile? And the contractor says, well, I'm not doing it, sue me. So I think this should be something, it's a big amount that, I mean, we worry about little $200 items, and I don't think this has really been addressed. And we have an issue right now that it's going to be going into the new budget season. So I would like your support in getting the money, at least, I mean, if everything goes as planned, if he can reuse the tiles and do it, let's put the new partitions in now. I don't know, I can't imagine it's that much. Resurfacing, you'll never get it. When you add dimensions to something, the hardware won't fit, the holes are in the wrong place. It's too costly to do it that way. So could we find out what it would cost,
Okay.
and then maybe
All right,
do that?
thank you, Barbara. Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment period and open it up to, Madam Manager, do you want to, maybe you can respond to some of those issues?
Sure, I also have a quick introduction into the item, and then I'll respond to
I'm
those
sorry,
issues.
yes.
It's okay. The budget presented to you is a result of the previous budget workshops where the commission discussed the proposed budget with staff and heard feedback from the public. Some of the changes that you see in the budget based on our workshop discussions include changing the commission travel and per diem and education line items to reflect a total of $4,000. This includes $1,500 for travel to Tallahassee and $2,500 to be divided evenly among the commissioners for training, education, and meeting stipends. All salaries, wherever it was affected throughout the budget, were properly adjusted either as required for new hires, promotions, and the Miami-Dade County living wage. So all of those changes that we spoke about were made. $10,000 was added for a professional lobbyist, and under general government, it was increased for education and training for code compliance training. Some adjustments were made. Most of those are decreases, such as workman's compensation, as we received our annual notices and invoices from our providers. While our millage rate stays the same from last year at 9.7 mils, due to the increase in property values, our required notification in the newspaper will state that there was a tax increase. This is due to the taxable value being increased even though we are maintaining a 9.7 millage rate. Staff is available to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Madam Manager. And if you could just,
Specific to the bathroom,
Yes.
as I shared with the residents that I spoke with, our intention is to buy new partitions. Our intention is to buy it out of this current fiscal year that's ending September 30th to make that purchase. Regarding any contingencies for this project, in the recreation budget, there's $6,000 for building improvements. Some are for lighting and security cameras, which we would not put aside, but it's also for painting of the building. There's also $5,000 budgeted for the retrofit of the Public Works facility. When we were intending to move the police station there, that money is still in the budget, and that can also be used for this kind of project if we need it to buy extra tile, because we do not intend to move the police department or retrofit that facility for them.
so if I understand correctly, the partitions will be replaced
Correct.
this year?
They'll be purchased this year, whether
Purchased
the
this
work
year.
is done by the end of the year or
Okay,
not.
and I asked last meeting whether, because I raised the same issue, that it's unlikely that they're going to save the tiles. So if they cannot save them, they're in agreement that they're responsible for purchasing the new tiles?
That is not in the agreement that they proposed to us.
And we have not paid them anything yet?
We have not paid them anything.
Okay. All right, any other comments on that particular issue? I mean, we can talk about that. Go ahead.
The other thing is, I would ask, is take a look at the faucets, the fixtures on the sinks. Those are designed for residential, not commercial. Because you go into commercial, especially like this type of bathrooms, you don't have a stopper because those sinks will overflow. What's in there is faucets made for the stopper, but the stoppers aren't there. You know, all you have is just a hole with no grate or anything over there. I think that's a problem waiting to happen, with of debris falling down in there. And it just looks cheap when you have a fixture with a hole in there for a stopper, but it's not there.
Okay. We will review.
Okay. All right, so back to this particular item. Comments from the commission? Yes.
I do have. There's a line item in the police department, and it has to do with K-9 operating supplies. We no longer have a K-9,
Correct.
and it was budgeted for $1,000. I'd like to see that moved into our contingency. I can give you the line number.
I'm aware of it.
Isn't that what happens to all unspent funds anyway?
Yes.
But the reason why I'm asking for this to be moved, this is a line item that will definitely be unspent. Let's have it in the contingency so that number, we know what that number really is.
Okay. Anything else?
If we're-
Commissioner?
No, that's all.
Okay.
If we're going to move, just related to that, if we're going to move it, I would rather move it within the police department for perhaps another need that will be there, like training or equipment. And that way, we're not crossing departments.
But we already have a line item for training. Do we need that much more?
Yeah, unless there's a deficiency and, unless we cut back on a line item for police, I don't.
It sounds like I keep nickel and diming everything, but, I grew up in an age where, a few dollars here and a few dollars there, if you start saving, it all of a sudden ends up with a lot of money. And to me, we have a balanced police budget. The only thing I'm asking to be removed from it is something they're not going to be used anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I have a recommendation, though. Since the police department is our largest department, and we have the most changes in expenditures, I think it'd be better off to leave the $1,000 in the department. We could use it, remember, as long as it's the same department, we can shift between lines without any approval, but I think we're going to need it in that department.
So, and I don't quite understand the reasoning, because if you feel that we're really underfunding the police department then?
No, it's not underfunding, it's just that things just come up, as we do every year, that we don't expect.
So it's just, like, relatively speaking, that's the largest line, the police is the largest component of the budget, therefore,
There-
it's more likely to,
The police is 48% of our total expenditure budget.
right, so $1,000, relatively speaking.
Right.
That adjustment is not.
And on top of that, if
That
it goes to the contingency, then we have, every time there's a little $5 charge, you're going to have to vote on it to come out of that contingency.
May I?
Correct.
May I?
Yes.
There is a canine-related expense that the chief just made me aware of, and that's that we need to remove the canine cage out of one of our cars. The decision to do away with the canine, as you know, from Tuesday night has been a very quick one. So we're trying to catch up with some of those expenses. So there are some expenses related to removing the cage out of the
Okay,
Taurus.
that's a good point.
Another way
That would
that-
be coming out of this coming budget, or would that be coming out of the existing budget we're under right now?
Right.
But how much money would that cost?
It's undetermined, we haven't put it out for bid now, we just lost the K-9 officer.
And you couldn't just drive the car and keep the cage in?
Chief,
there
you
if
want to
it's
come?
not used?
You want to come up? Sorry.
Then you can't put humans in it.
No, it's especially designed for canine dogs. We can't transport any prisoner or disabled motorist or car. Children broke down in a car, we couldn't transport them in that vehicle. It doesn't have a seat in the back. It's a specially designed vehicle that adheres to the Florida state laws on how the backs of those cars have to be designed, and it's specially made just for a dog, not for a human.
Chief, I have a question. Is that a vehicle that has high mileage on it? Is that a vehicle that we're going to be getting rid of pretty soon, or?
It's a brand new car.
Oh, it's a brand new car?
That was
It
approved by
it has
the-
roughly 1,000 miles on it.
Okay.
Oh, I thought that we somehow got it and it had been a canine car.
That's the previous Explorer that has been decommissioned due to its mileage and condition.
Was this new car purchased with that canine cage in it?
Yes, sir, it was.
Oh, okay. Vice Mayor Russ, sorry, you had something?
Just an issue that we had in the last year or two, and it's kind of calmed down for now, but I know that the police were helping us eliminate the stray dog issue, and they needed a place to keep the dogs until animal control would come pick them up. So maybe that would be a use for that money, is, to have a pad laid down and a cage built for
But are you
that
suggesting
purpose.
keep it in the police car and have that capability?
No.
Oh,
It would be in close proximity to the police station, I guess.
We have a temporary holding facility for any stray animal until the animal control experts come down. I think the longest this summer that we've had any animal in there, it was a dog, was maybe an hour and a half, roughly.
Right. But that's in the log cabin, right?
Yes, ma'am, it
In
is.
the area of the log cabin that's going to be stripped away.
Well, we can move that cage. It's something that can be picked up by a couple of people and moved.
Okay.
Now,
all right, so,
on a canine vehicle set up for a canine, it is more than just a cage, isn't it? Isn't there other things like special air conditioning? And
Yeah, it's a very specially designed system. I'm using the word cage just to describe the entire system, but it has a special name. I don't remember what it is. It's like a computer-controlled system, like if the car stalls or the air conditioning system fails, it unlocks the doors, it releases the windows so that nothing happens to the dog. Those standards were implemented after some canine dogs died in a tragic accident.
Now, is this a vehicle, since it's basically brand new, is there another department it can be sold to, and we would get enough money to go just buy a police car, instead of trying to retrofit? Because those are I know those are very expensive to have them all set up for canine.
Why don't we come back for the next budget hearing with
All right,
these
okay,
answers?
all right.
We weren't prepared for this
but
question.
I'm okay.
It's a good point.
It's a brand-new car. set up for dog.
Well, I think it
Why
all
don't we just sell
depends on
it to
how much
somebody
it's
who-
going to take to take that out.
No, I'm saying,
And what's
what-
the-
we could sell that one as a specialty car and use the money to buy a regular police car.
I know, but
If I may, this Taurus is it is a canine car, but it was not originally intended to be a canine car. We needed a canine car because our existing canine car was an SUV that was in great disrepair. So we took the opportunity with the Taurus to convert it into a canine car. Probably nobody's going to want it because it's not an SUV, it's a sedan. The SUVs carry all kinds of equipment that the smaller sedan cannot, but we were sort of forced into it because of our financial limitations and the equipment that was available to us. We have been trying to find somebody that was interested in buying the cage from us. We can't do that because nobody has so far we haven't been able to do that because nobody has that kind of a car that they need a cage for. We're probably going to be forced to go to a national search for somebody that wants that particular system for a Taurus.
Okay. All right, so we're going to bring that item back.
Dave?
Yes.
Just a comment?
Sure.
Yeah. Bob, I don't think you're nickeling and diming at all.
No.
And I think in principle, you're absolutely right. The only competing theory, I think, is that these budgets are really mostly only estimates anyway. And for such a small amount of money for a line item, $1,000, it probably makes more sense just to leave it in the police fund and see what happens to it over the course of the year. If nothing happens to it, it'll just revert to the reserve anyhow.
What happens, there's a compelling reason to leave it in there now, because I was completely unaware of the situation with the K-9 vehicle. So I'm not averse of keeping it in there. But outside of that, I look at if money is put into a contingency that cannot be taken out without the commission's approval, it just doesn't sort of melt away. But I understand keeping this in the police department now because there is a good compelling reason that you may need it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Mayor, do you have consensus about us coming back or consensus about
I think
leaving
the
it in?
consensus is that we're going to leave it in. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for clarification.
Could the line item just be changed instead of K-9 operating supplies to?
Yeah, I think that it will.
Well, we
be
have the
changed.
flexibility to move within the budget, so we can put it in operating supplies, we can put it in vehicle repair and maintenance, we can put it in training and education. Within that departmental budget, it will get absorbed.
Okay.
And it,
So why don't,
but with the main priority being making this car a useful marked patrol car for us, which is one of our major goals in the department, is to make all cars marked to the best of our ability and as patrol cars.
all right. Let's do this. Let's go down the line and address all your comments. There's been some complaints that meetings take too long by some people. So I want to let maybe work on structuring them better. So why don't we go through all your...
That was my concern, because basically the budget that's presented, especially the updated one, is what we've already discussed.
Okay, so you have nothing further.
No, because the K-9 situation is something that just sort of came up recently where we no longer have a K-9, so that is a change that I wanted to address.
Okay. Commissioner Watts.
Well, I have been thinking that if we do need the money for, to retro or change the car, then that's needed. But I thought that $1,000 could go to the rec center in Public Works, and if there is more money needed for the bathroom. Because I would like, we do have money that you stipulated to do for lighting, and I think we should address lighting this year. But, so I don't want to decrease the amount of funds that we have for lighting because of the other costs associated with the bathrooms.
Correct, and as I stated, there's $6,000 for all recreation upgrades. That, and the list that we came up with went from, it included a lot of things, and one such thing was $1,500 for the painting of the exterior of the building. If we need that money to fix the bathrooms, we can delay the painting of the exterior building, and at the mid-year, when we realize what savings we have, we can move money back for the painting of the exterior.
Okay.
If, speaking of a prioritization, completing the bathroom project, which is going to tumble into the next fiscal year, is a priority. Painting the exterior of the building is a lower priority for us right now.
Oh, just one thing on that with the rec center. That back shed has deteriorated somewhat. Is that on the list of things, or is there money allocated?
I think it's just under general maintenance. I don't think there's a specific line item for it, but we can also have staff look at that immediately.
Well, that's something that shed in the future, you may not need it because once the administration building gets built and we move over of all of our meetings, all of this stuff that's being used for these meetings get moved out of here, and all of a sudden you got more storage space in here.
Anything else, Commissioner Watts?
Oh, just a couple of things, because Heidi and I went over this afternoon, so almost all of my questions are answered. But I still feel that something should be said. I would like you to say something about the foundation audit, $2,500. I know that if they have to be audited, why isn't one of the foundation, that's what I'm sorry, but why are we covering that cost rather than the foundation covering the cost, as it's a separate entity?
We just put it in there as a placeholder. The foundation made a request. I think I indicated this during the workshops for us to remember that if they ever needed to do an audit, apparently they were under the understanding that they would, through the economy of scale, use our auditor. So we put that in a placeholder, but we don't intend to go out and just do that audit for the foundation without having that conversation with the commission.
And the other thing
And
that I thought...
I just want to, I know we talked about it, but
Yeah.
let me just add, if you don't mind. The audit would be required for the foundation if they went out and got certain grants. The organizations, nonprofits specifically, are required to provide their most recent audit for the grant purposes. So that's an example of why they might need an audit. So it's rare. It's not something we anticipate, but it was a request made to me from the foundation, and we put it in at the workshop level.
What did they request?
That the village cover an audit if they ever required an audit.
Well, it's always been that way because the foundation never had enough money to be required to pay for an audit.
Correct.
But I am wondering if maybe it would be a good thing if Irwin and Wendy sort of oversaw their finances in terms of just checking the bookkeeping for them.
We can work on that relationship, but I don't think that would do away with the requirement for an audit if
No,
they
it
were,
wouldn't.
okay.
I'm talking about a separate matter.
Sure, we can discuss
All right,
that.
anything else, Commissioner Watts?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. It was, I think, under administration. Well, where is it that we have the funds for communications, sending out flyers?
General government?
General government, and general government. I was thinking that given, in light of the annexation and all of the things that are going on with the log cabin and the annex building, that perhaps, and the need for communication to residents, that we might consider increasing that that allotment, because there may be more flyers to go out or money to be spent on communications with the village residents. But now I can't find it. General.
Yes.
How much is
Commercial
budget?
activities.
How much is budgeted
Yeah.
currently?
Okay, I can't find the page.
It's at the bottom of page 20, and we have $4,000 budgeted.
I mean, I think that's sufficient. And we're going to, we talked about the last meeting, we're going to discuss next meeting streamlining the notice, or at least establishing a consistent policy with respect to noticing issues and items.
And from the staff level, I know this doesn't address the door-to-door hanging, but yesterday Maria, Christian, and I had a meeting where we discussed improving some of our communications through the email blast, but how to make it more productive and frequent and those type of things. So,
Okay.
we're also looking at those improvements, not necessarily for printing, but how to communicate better with the resources we have.
There's one more thing, but I'll let everyone
Okay.
talk because I'll have to find it.
All right.
Just occurred to me while we're talking about communications, I know the website has been enhanced tremendously
Yes.
since Maria took it over, and now it's gone through a new generation of upgrades. Are there other sort of features or channels that we can take advantage of in that?
wanna talk
And
about it
is
a
there a
little bit?
cost associated with it?
Yeah, earlier in the year, the manager tasked each of us to give our goals and objectives, and that was my complete page. We're looking to connect with our, with BSNA, so that people can go online for paying to rent this facility, so they all connect in there. Something that I've seen that I want to add is at the very top, something I've seen other cities do, I want to, and a resident can say, I want to pull a permit, pay for the rec center, put in a request that we're going to have for waste services. So there's a lot of connectivity that I'm going to be adding on that. So I had a very big list that I wanted to add in there.
Okay.
And is there a cost associated to those
Just me?
features? The work.
Yeah, time.
Right.
All of those features are available. You saw what a great response we got with the sanitation mailers, people going online, and I want to take it. Well, we had a 70% return response, and more than half of that was through the online feature.
Great.
And as far as the cost of the software goes, when we originally bought the software, we paid for a licensing module, which we don't need, so they agreed to swap it out for the online licensing. So we're going to swap it out probably the next 2 or 3 weeks, so there'll be no cost. We may have a few $100s for training, for the additional training, but as far as the costs and maintenance, it's all included already. So they'll have a link on the website where you'll be able to go in and pay for painting permits, for park rec fees, and all the other miscellaneous things without having to come in to the cashier to do so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I met with Barbara on occasion, and she has some excellent ideas for the website, so maybe the two of you can connect.
Yeah. This was on page 28, and I forgot to mention this afternoon. Under telephone communications, when we, in the budget workshops, the total for that line on telephone communications was $360, and it's up to $960 now. And I know we decided to be equal in terms of the amount we pay, what we pay for cell phones, but that would be, that person was getting $30 a month per cell phone and in code, and we upped it to $40. But I still don't see why there's such a big jump.
Correct. If you recall, also as part of that conversation, it was pointed out to us that we would need internet communication, and it's included in that line item as well.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
All right. Anything else, Vice Mayor Russ?
Well, we just approved the engagement with Becker Polyakoff, and I wonder, is it already incorporated in here in the budget, and where is it?
It is not. There's 15,000 under planning and zoning, and there's 10,000 under general government for lobbying services. There's also the contingency. We hoped, we will, by second reading, have a refined number for contingency, and we will reflect this contract. Our contingency is going to go up a little bit because we found out we're going to have a little more ad valorem taxes than we were initially told from the county. So our contingency is going to increase by about $10,000.
It's the actual numbers, if you look on the first page for your ad valorem, it says $1,326,000. The final number is $1,331,461. By law, it can't be 100%, but it can't be less than 95% of the final value. So when I calculated it out, we had an additional $4,501 that would be added to the ad valorem. However, I also have to make an adjustment for insurance, which is going to take the contingency down. So I think what Heidi was saying is that once we get all the numbers tonight for any changes that have to be made, I'll recalculate everything, we'll see what that contingency is, and then we can determine what else we want to do with those funds.
So the $10,000 in lobby that you were referring to, was that what we had contemplated for our legislative consultant?
Correct. So that's what we need feedback from the commission. If the plan is to continue with Dave Caserta with that $10,000, and then use the $15,000 under planning for the outreach effort for annexation.
Can you point me to the page where the lobbyists?
It's page 20.
So currently in the budget for Dave Caserta, we have what amount?
Line 135.
Okay. So $10,000. What was his proposal?
24, I
24,000.
think it was 24.
I like to leave that for the lobbyists for Tallahassee. I don't want to see us move that.
No, I don't want to see him move it. I'm just wondering whether to increase it.
Well, that goes back, what I was saying is, if we need to increase it, we can always vote and pull some from the contingency as time goes on.
Well, would this be the line item where we'd have to allocate something for the annexation effort?
I would probably, because it's two very distinct projects, use our planning line item, since we used that during this current fiscal year for the annexation efforts, and it was the Becker-Polikoff relationship is specific to annexation.
Mayor?
Yes.
Look at this. While we're on this page 20, I forgot I had a note here on the rental storage facility. I was wondering with the possible move of the village administration to the Public Works building and all of it in this next year, whether or not will we need more storage facilities? While the log cabin is being renovated?
Just to clarify, staff is considering moving to the Public Works facility during the renovation project so that we could start the log cabin renovation earlier. It's a plan that we're playing around with. I think there's some cushion in that storage facility, because just last week, the clerk, who was given 3 months left of her storage facility in North Miami, was able to complete her tasks. So I think we could be using that for a pod if we need to use it. But we don't anticipate that need. Right, and a good portion of that's Iron Mountain, but there is some money in there for the North Miami facility that we'll be getting rid of in the next week or two.
But I'm just worried that if you do move to the Public Works building and all of the files and all in the log cabin won't be able to fit in the Public Works building.
I think that's what she's
I understand.
referring to.
Yeah, we would not be putting files in pods. We have room. We cleaned up some of our storage in here with the Iron Mountain Shred-a-thon. We have other spaces.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to focus back on the legislative consultant, his offer was 24. We set aside initially a placeholder of 10. Is there room in the contingency to increase that?
Aren't you going to take the other 10 from planning and zoning? No? They're
But wasn't David Caserta's proposal for 24 to include local things in addition to?
It really was. I mean, he included county annexation efforts as sort of a throw-in, that he was willing to help us, but the funding was really for state lobbying.
I can't understand how we would just throw that in, because the annexation projects we know will cost so much.
In other words, he was willing to offer his assistance and help. I don't think he was willing to carry the ball and
No,
take.
he had no interest in doing the lobbyist efforts, and in fact,
He was just willing to help.
yeah.
Okay.
To answer Commissioner Ross's question, after I make my adjustments, and before, I'm going to preface that to say, before we make any other adjustments, I'm going to have about $33,000 in that, the contingency. So if you wanted to take 15 out of there to fund one of the other line items, we can. But that final number, we won't know till we make all these final adjustments in every line item, so we know what that number is.
Right now, we're showing 44,
Right, there's some adjustments that have to be made.
so
With an insurance, one was down for the insurance, the other was up for the ad valorem, but then it nets out to about 34.
right, so actually it'd be probably less than what we're looking at right now in the contingency.
Correct.
And that's why I prefer
Within this,
leaving that $10,000, and then, because till the dust all settles of what we actually have in the contingency, and if we need to, then we could remove, but we may be going in a contingency for the annexation part too.
The For Becker and Polikoff, we would only need 42,000 this coming year based on their rate of 3,500 per month. So after you subtract the 15,000 that we already have in the planning budget, that's a requirement of 27,000.
And so that has to come from contingency.
Correct.
Within this same department that we're looking at, 2 lines down from 135 is line 160, which is legal other. And this year, it's projected activity of 2,500, but we are setting aside 10,000 for next year.
Yeah, what is that line item for?
For example, during the mid-year mod, we took from this line item to cover some of the internal affairs investigation.
Well, hopefully we won't have to deal with that again. All right.
So it's within the same department. I don't know that we actually have to make the change, but I just want us to have a general understanding. And I think that we do now realize, having been successful in Tallahassee, that we need to have a presence there, and it's a win-win for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think that increasing that 10 to 15 is reasonable. I mean, he's willing to do this, and he's willing to not, he doesn't charge us for expenses, if I'm correct?
Correct.
I don't have I forgot to bring the book that has the amount we allotted last year. Do you remember what we allotted last year?
For the lobbyists, it was 7,500. It was only for the legislative session,
Right.
and we got into it pretty late because of that.
So where would the 5,000 come from if we bump it up to 15? Are we going to take some from the professional services, other legal?
Yeah, that's what I suggest.
So what we're doing is we're not, okay.
Is that, are you in agreement with that?
I would like to see us get closer to his proposal, but if we can only afford 15, then that's what we can afford.
Well, 15 is almost double what we paid him last year.
Well, also because we are nibbling into our contingency, and we haven't even really started the year yet. I think we need to be very, very careful of just keep grabbing money out of it.
Well, can we then, do we need a motion to move the 5 from other legal to services for the legislative consultant? Or just by consensus?
I think just by consensus.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that consensus? 5?
Yep.
Okay. All right. And then the 20, do we need to put in the 27,000 for?
Yes.
Okay. So I assume there's a consensus for that?
Yep.
Okay.
That's going to be in the P and Z
Add 20, add
section.
15 to it?
Well, the 15, right, the 15 currently, we're assigning that from planning to the county lobbyists, and then we're putting another 27. Correct?
Yes. Yep. And that goes under
Under,
planning
it'll
and
be under
zoning.
planning / however you want to
Planning.
identify it.
Planning.
All right, so anything else? Vice Mayor Ross?
No, I had a few questions. I already went through them with the manager, and we're all
Okay,
good.
wonderful. Commissioner Jonas, anything?
Told you we should have taxed at 10 mils. Can I offer a motion to approve this ordinance?
Sure.
I'd second that.
All right, motion by Commissioner Jonas, second by Vice Mayor Ross. All in favor? Oh,
Thank you, Commissioner Jonas.
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Ross,
Yes.
Commissioner Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
and Mayor Coviello.
yes. All righty, announcements.
On Saturday, September 12th, there will be a 9/11 remembrance here at the Rec Center from, 13th, from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. On Monday, September 15th, it's the Ecology Board at 6:30 p.m. Monday, September 15th is Planning and Zoning Board at 6:30 p.m. Let me go back. September 12th is a special code compliance meeting tomorrow at 7 p.m. On Wednesday, September 17th, Parks and Parkway at 6 p.m., which may change. Please check the calendar. Wednesday, September 17th, Code Review Board at 7 p.m. On Saturday, September 20th, is our pancake breakfast for Jasmine Pelochette from 8 to 12 p.m. Also, our second annual fun run that starts at 8:30 a.m. at Village Hall and going to the Rec Center, and then followed by the Health and Fitness Expo. And then our second public hearing for fiscal year budget 2014-15 is on Tuesday, September 23rd at 6:30 p.m.
Make a motion to adjourn?
All right. Everyone have a wonderful evening. Thank you.